Blue Lock is a highly immersive exploration of the human psyche. An individual's ego and its potential influence upon the world at large, as well as its importance for one's identity and very existence as a human, is a central part of the manga's thematic exploration. One of my favorite aspects of the manga, and possibly the most engaging mechanism through which its ideas are conveyed, is the dynamic between the main character, Isagi Yoichi, and his primary antagonist in the latter half of the series, Michael Kaiser. These two characters, as is often the case with many good character dynamics, represent two sides of the same coin, and functions as foils for one another, all whilst exploring the greater narrative of the series in regards to ego and identity. Isagi is introduced as a man who believes more in himself than he does in others. In the beginning of the series, we witness his team losing an important football match due to a pass from Isagi, whose recipient failed to score a goal. Isagi wonders where he would be if he had believed in himself, acted egoistically, and taken the shot for himself. How would this have altered his fate? Would he have gotten into nationals, potentially succeeded, and formed a solid foundation for a future career within football? His vision of a potential future was, in his eyes, crushed because he chose to adhere to social norms and team-playing etiquette instead of putting all his faith in himself. From this moment on, and especially after joining Blue Lock and progressing through its challenges and probable ideological indoctrination, we see him change into a man who will always prioritize himself, only ever utilizing others as tools. Never as individuals in their own right, but as means to achieving a goal. In his eyes, he believes the future is for him to create. If he can ascend to a higher plane of intellect, skill, and egoism than all of his world-class opponents, his fate is for him to craft with his own hands. He can and will defeat anyone. He operates from the basis of a superiority complex. Michael Kaiser, upon his introduction, seems like the exact same type as Isagi, but times 10 in every regard. He's cool, threatening, among the world's most rising and promising football stars, operating as a dictator over his teammates, all their strategies revolving around him. He has the appearance of the epitome of superiority and ego, an individual ascending every opponent, with endless opportunities ahead of him. Kaiser, like his blue rose tattoo would symbolize, holds the power to do the impossible. Isagi sees him as, in a way, the ideal version of himself, though, as you continue to read the manga, you realize Kaiser is, in reality, the exact opposite of Isagi on fundamental levels. Kaiser was born an unwanted child of a failed relationship with an abusive father who insisted his existence was pointless, and that he was an Untermensch. If he is hated by a horrible man, he himself must be the lowest of the low. The boy makes his way by stealing and strolling the streets, sneakily saving up a small stash of money, which he later uses to buy a football. In the same way Kaiser would always come crawling back to his father despite all the abuse, the football would come bouncing back when he kicked it at the wall. He felt a strange connection to the inanimate object, considering that they were both nothing more than trash. In contrast to Isagi, whose motives for becoming the world's best footballer is an unwavering belief in his own abilities and an insatiable lust to push his abilities to the limits, constantly evolving past and transcending those around him, Kaiser keeps playing in search of this fundamental sense of self. He considers himself less than a human. He cannot evolve like Isagi when the two of them are not part of the same species. Kaiser is, of course, biologically a Homo sapien, but the belief in one's ego is, at least in the context of Blue Lock, an integral part of what constitutes a human identity. Despite Isagi seeing Kaiser as his ideal self, his opponent has in reality not achieved the foundation which Isagi's further evolution is based on, an ego, a sense of self. Kaiser wishes to establish his humanity the only way he knows how, the same way his scum-of-the-earth father established his own humanity. Through dominating others, leaving scars on their hearts, scaring them into submission, and living on inside them as a force to be feared. He grew up being taught that the only thing establishing one's humanity is being superior to others. Despite his burning hatred for his father, he brings this ideology into the life he is making for himself. Kaiser questions why his father would keep a rose in his possession, considering it was a gift from a woman who no longer loved him, but despite this, he tattoos a rose on himself. Some parts of your life and upbringing and the people around you continue to stick with you, despite them being parts of yourself that you despise. Blue Lock establishes that different individuals thrive and develop best under different conditions. Isagi, for instance, undergoes change more rapidly if he is given free rein to act as he wishes, whilst Kaiser develops better under strict guidelines. This could also be a part of the reason why Kaiser is so intrigued by Isagi. He may have had the insight to realize this difference between the two of them, and chosen Isagi specifically as an opponent to adapt to and evolve alongside for this very reason. Kaiser, wanting to establish his own humanity, clinged onto a man with an ego and identity so strong and under constant development, in hopes that establishing himself as his opponent, under the deception of being an even greater and more superior ego, would cause his own personal development to parallel that of Isagi's. If Kaiser could also beat Isagi in the end, devouring possibly the darkest, most expansive ego in all of Blue Lock, he would establish himself as possibly the world's greatest in his age range. Having defeated every other strong opponent, devouring all their egos, receiving love from supporters all over the world, that would have to constitute the greatest amount of humanity an Untermensch like him could achieve, ultimately giving his unwanted existence a sense of purpose. Those are my thoughts on this aspect of Blue Lock. I think it's a really good manga, despite not being remotely interested in football myself. I was very impressed by it, and kind of wanted to talk about it. So, yeah. Excited to see where this series goes in the future. Goodbye.